Welcome, welcome, everyone. I don't even know what day it is anymore. I'm Kari Stober, your host for Art School Live today, while Eric is traveling around Wisconsin, Michigan. I don't know. He's somewhere in the Midwest. And so I get to be your host today, and I'm pretty excited. We have a lovely lady joining us today. Her name is Claudia, and let's bring in Claudia and figure out what we're going to learn today. Hi, Claudia Gray. How are you?
Hi, Kari. Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too. Where are you calling in from?
I'm in San Diego. It's beautiful, sunny and mild right now. It's
Nice.
gorgeous.
Yeah, it's gorgeous here in Colorado too. Nice and sunny and very cool outside. I like it.
Yeah.
What are you going to be sharing with us today?
Okay. Well, I want to make sure that everyone feels very comfortable while painting. It's kind of like one of my loves. I'm a multimedia artist, but I've always, ever since I was little, have wanted to paint. And in the last few, I don't know, like the decade or so, it's been blossoming. And I think it's because I finally allowed myself not to be a perfectionist.
Oh,
That's
I need
still
to
in
know.
work. That's still in
I need to
works,
know what you
okay?
think about that.
But at the same time, I've realized that painting can also be very meditative.
Mhm.
And so when I feel like I'm in flow, that's when I lose time. I'll be painting for 4 hours. It'll feel like an hour and a half. Things could be going around. Normally I'm very, noise sensitive, like a helicopter, shiny object, there it is, but when I'm meditative and flow, it's like a train could go by and and it's because it's a biochemical thing. The brain is dropping a lot of dopamine and,
Yeah.
neurotransmitters. So it's like it's a rush and it's like a runner's high, right? That's what runner's highs are.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I want to do today is kind of, say to people, hey, just play, have fun. You're working with colors. It doesn't matter if you're painting outdoors and it's not a gorgeous painting. Bring it back to the studio, rework it, or go back to the area, but just enjoy your time.
Yes. And so you're painting a seascape today, yes?
I'm painting a seascape, and I want to talk about also the rule of thirds. So one of the things that like where my career kind of went to a nice place is through my photography.
Mhm.
And the photography, there's, certain rules, right? So like
Right.
everybody right now with iPhones can be a photographer. And we are, right? We're like, selfie this, take a picture, reels, stories, whatever. But there's actual techniques that make a good photograph.
Right.
And one of them is the rule of thirds.
Oh,
So,
perfect.
okay, so we're going to talk about the rule of thirds. It's one of my favorite things. When I was teaching photography to some of my students, they're like, "What? So we chop it up in, in threes?" And I'm like, "Well, you start with a grid."
Yes.
And if we can show the first picture of the
Let's
examples.
yeah, let's get to the show. We got to start the show. We got to make it official first. And
Oh
then
yeah,
I'm going to turn off my camera and let you take it over.
perfect.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhodes. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhodes.
Kari Stober. Welcome to Art School Live. Eric is traveling for Fall Color Week right now. He's in Door County, Wisconsin, not Michigan. And we've got a little video we're going to share in a little bit he's got a little welcome for you guys since he's not here. But we are going to let Claudia take this over. She is going to share with us today. She is painting a seascape using solvent-free. I don't know what that means because I'm a pastelist. We don't have solvents. So we're going to find out what that means. And she's also going to talk about the rule of thirds and being, free and enjoying when you're painting and not getting bogged down in those details and perfectionism. So Claudia, are you ready to take this over?
I am, and I'm hoping that you can see my my panel.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the what we're going to paint. That's my source photograph. It's from one of my paintings. And I want to start off with the examples of the rule of thirds, if we can bring up that image. So the other image, well, okay, so this one shows my grid. And as you can see, one of the points, which we're going to talk about, the nose, so is right on one of the intersections. And so if we go back to that other example photograph, you can see that there's a grid, and the grid is basically cut into thirds from the top and horizontally, so vertically and horizontally. And each of the subject matters are on one of the points. Now the intersection points are going to be what is most important for the focal point. So if I were just to like start a painting, if we can go to my my easel now. If I were to start a painting, okay, no, that's not, forget that one. I might start the painting like this. And then as I'm drawing, I might also use my iPhone. And I don't know if you guys know this, but on the camera, there's a grid. So if I were to use, let's say, my iPad right now, because my phone is being my camera, and I were to go to the camera, there's actually a grid. Can you see the grid? I don't know if you guys can see it. But in any event, you go to the camera and you put on the grid, and then you can choose your picture. Now, there's lots of devices you can do, and it's fine. You can, use your fingers, you can use your iPhone, you can use a scene capture, whatever it is. But this intersection here, and this intersection here, and this one are going to be the most important. So you don't want to necessarily put something right smack in the middle, although all rules are meant to be broken. So sometimes you will, depending on what you want to do. But at the same time, if you focus on this, 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 and this, it will create a strong composition. So you can see that the nose here is in this quadrant. So I'm just going to start painting now. I'm using a flat brush, and why don't we start painting, and then I'll talk a little bit about solvent-free. Kari, do you have any questions? Or
well, what does solvent-free mean? I'm a pastel artist, so we don't have solvents.
Okay, so most of the people use terpenoid mineral spirits, things like that. What I have found is that I can actually use safflower oil. Now, a lot of the old masters used safflower oil, and it's solvent free. So meaning that it's not toxic, it's biodegradable. If you spill it, you don't have to have, any special tools, or like sometimes you spill it on your, like if you spill terpenoid on your floor, then it's a big deal. You have to pick it up right away. Otherwise it eats at it. So if you use oil, it's pretty friendly. My mediums are also solvent free. So I use something called 𝗦𝗶𝗺𝗀𝗃𝗃. I think I'm pronouncing that wrong. 𝗦𝗃𝗃𝗃, or walnut oil. And if I'm using walnut oil, and I'm also using safflower oil is actually less expensive. And so I'm going to probably use safflower oil to clean my brushes. And how to clean your brushes with a safflower oil is you wipe really well. So you just wipe really well, and then you dip it in, and then you wipe again. And it actually creates the brush being soft.
good information.
Yeah, I actually another artist told me about it, and I did some research. I love research, and so I found out that yeah, it's non-toxic. You can clean your brushes. It's pretty simple. Okay, I'm just talking, and it's hard to talk and paint, so I'm not in my flow state. So I'm just moving. I'm moving. I love blue, so I just decided to make blue right away. So I may start somewhere with the darks if I'm really focusing, and I'm going to do that now.
Okay.
So I'm going to take a little bit of my medium, and I'll start putting in some darks. And again, I'm playing. I'm going to make this pretty eventually, but I think we've probably all heard of the ugly duckling stage of a painting.
Yes.
So it took me a while to understand that. And now that I do, I just kind of go, okay, yeah, it's going to be ugly for a while. But that's okay. It's kind of like a dress rehearsal, right?
Yes. So we've got someone ask, what's the drying time for safflower oil? Does it dry slower or faster?
Okay, so it's like walnut oil, and it dries slower. So, but remember, I'm not putting it on my paintings. I'm using it to clean my brushes, and I'm going to use either the walnut oil or the 𝗦𝗶𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 to put on my canvas.
Okay, gotcha.
And also the other benefit to safflower oil is that it's lighter than linseed oil. Actually, I didn't put this down. It's lighter than linseed oil, and so it's not going to it's not going to yellow as much. And another interesting research item that I found out was that a lot of manufacturers of oil paint use safflower oil in their ingredients. And that's something that you guys can look at your tubes and see that it's in there.
Can you tilt your camera down just a little bit? We can't see the bottom of the painting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There we go. Now, perfect. Yep, perfect.
Okay, great. So I'm using big brushes. I'm gonna just create this line to remind me that's a place that I want to add more light, but to divide it. And if I'm working off of a reference, I may or may not change something, right? That's the part of play. Unless you're doing representational painting and it has to be exactly the right way, like there's a contest for a hotel locally here. So yeah, so that hotel is going to need to be very representational so they know what it is. But for the most part, when you're recreating something, you can make it a little bit different. It might actually be better. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm pretty much like almost drawing the cliff, and then I'll add some color to it. I see that I did some green there. I love to paint when there are wildflowers. That is like my jam. I used to hike a lot in Northern California, and so I think what happened is that I just really would create these hike adventures that were in flower time situations. Make me very happy. Okay, so I didn't clean my brush there, and so that kind of created a situation where the paints mixed And sometimes you can mix the paints on the canvas, although it's not best practice, but sometimes I do that. Probably not the best habit in the world, but there's worse. So when you're painting, you also want to go in the flow of where the landscape is at. So here I'm going to go up. Here I might go horizontal. The back area here is far away, so I'm going to add blue to that and make sure that it goes towards the back.
So Sharon has a question. It says, do you use safflower oil designed for oil painting? I've read walnut painting oils and walnut cooking oils are differently processed.
Right. That's actually a super good technical question. So I've done a little bit of research, and yes, there is specifically walnut oil and safflower oil that are labeled and processed a tiny bit different than just the cooking oil that I actually get. I get this on Amazon, and then I also, if I'm traveling and I need it right away, then I would go to like a Hispanic market, because sometimes it's hard to find. And so I realized that the Hispanic markets, for whatever reason, carry them all the time, and they're actually really good price. So the question is it processed differently? They do add some additives for the art one, but I found that I don't want to pay that extra price. This is just as good. Remember, I'm cleaning my brushes with it, so I'm going through a lot of it. And the walnut oil, I have used the art one. So the walnut oil I do, but the safflower one I don't. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to want to start kind of like making this prettier. And sometimes I like to add purple in the water. And I'm moving around the canvas today just so you can get an idea of what I do in each area. When I'm doing it just in my flow state, I might work with the sky longer, not move as kind of moving around the canvas. Another thing that I do that sometimes works out really nice is I started today with just a blank white canvas, not toned. And sometimes I tone them using acrylic paint. If like I'm traveling, I might pre-tone things ahead of time, and I might pre-tone it in kind of like an Indian yellow. And it turns out that Monet used kind of that Indian yellow to tone his canvases sometimes. And what that does is it creates a radiance effect as you leave some of the canvas not painted. I'm trying not to use white on its own. I'm trying to use a little bit of different colors with the white.
What white do you use? I've heard that there's different ones. There's ivory, there's titanium.
I actually use titanium. I don't know enough about the different ones. I think zinc is actually a good one too. But I have always used titanium. That's what my teachers recommended, so I kind of stuck with it. I didn't feel a need to explore the white. Yellows are interesting. Yellows have been a fun thing to explore, like Naples yellow. There's this pale ochre, gold ochre, lots of different colors and shades in yellow. So I'm just
Mary wants to know what size flat brush you're using.
okay. Right now, this is a 6. I like to use, this is one of my favorites, the 12. And so I might go back to the 12. I used to start paintings with, 10 brushes out. And now I realized if I can just use a couple of them, I'm good. I've learned how to use the flat. So the flats, if you clean them well, and then use, let's see, right here, this tip, like going down, it actually acts like a small brush. So you can get away with just using less brushes, and that works out well too. So as I'm laying down paint, I'm not really worried too much about the colors touching each other or getting mixed in. I am more of an impressionistic painter, and so always colors touch each other and kind of create a second color or a third color as they touch.
Okay.
And you might remember to add a little bit of blue. Like here, I added a little bit of blue to bring up the water. That might be a touch at the end that I do. So if I've got a certain color, I'm going to probably go around the canvas and use that color. I have to step back a bit. Maybe work on the back a little bit. So I think this was a different frame. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it. This is a good example of just changing things as you want. So maybe I'll add the sky at the top. And this is where I'm giving myself permission to play and move it around. So I think in this painting, I want more sky. So I'm just going to do that for the sake of the demo. So you can switch things up. You're not locked in. This isn't a contract, right?
This is your artistic license.
I love it. Yes, you are licensed to change things up. Okay, so I really, because I'm going to use the blue on the sky, I don't want to have any brown. So this is the time where I'm going to really clean my brush. And if I wanted to, I could grab another brush, right? But I'll give you an idea.
And is this a canvas panel or a linen panel?
This is a linen panel, a 9x12. Oh, and by the way, I want to give you this little tip. This may or may not work for people. So, okay, so my college professor had us, it was the weirdest thing. He had us take the blue rolls of towels that are like the shop towels, and he had us cut them into 6 pieces. And we hated it. And we're like, you know, why are we doing this? This is like little tiny baby towels. And he was talking about, now I can't remember the artist's name, but it goes back from the 1800s. And this guy was like the neatest painter ever or whatever. And so he said that he wanted us to learn how to be neat when we're painting. And so he had us do that. Okay, many years later, I am still doing it. And I have found that if I cut up a bunch of paper towels, so I may have like a whole tray of them just cut up. It takes me no time because I get one of those dollar store cutters.
Yeah.
You know, like those wheel things. And I just, you know, put on some music, cut. Within 10 minutes, I've gone through a whole roll. And then I'm prepped. And that has actually, believe it or not, saved money on paper towel and the environment. If, you know, I'm trying to be eco-friendly here. I've always tried to be eco-friendly. I've created lots of art with recycled materials. I used to take bottles and slump them, you know, and so I'm always trying to look at the eco-friendly way of doing it. Yes, I'm creating trash with the paper towels, but I'm creating less trash. And it actually has taught me how to be a neater painter. And again, it's not for everybody. And I have to admit, I did not like it at first. And one of my teachers, who's a dear friend and an amazing artist, she can't understand it. And when I'm in her workshop, she's like, get rid of those things. I'm like, no, I like them. So anyway, it's one of my little tricks. Not that I invented it, but I do use it. So that artist in the 1800s would use little rags. So back then they didn't have paper towels, but he had rags. So okay, so guess what? I'm going to change it again. So and I'm doing this also to prove that I do have a license to change things up. And I might put in one other hill back here, another layer. I'm just going to do that. Because another dear teacher of mine would say there are no mistakes, just opportunities. So I'm thinking that's true. In life, there's opportunities. As you might think things are going wrong, there actually might be going right into another direction. It's the wrong color, but I just want to create a line. Okay, I'll work with that later. That needs to be more blue and off to the distance. So I'll fix that. And the other thing that amazes me in California is how many layers there are. Have you noticed that?
What do you mean?
Like in the mountains, there's just layer upon layer. There's so many mountains. It's just one of the things I remember always being amazed at. That's muddy. Okay, so if something is muddy, guess what? I'm gonna, now this is an opportunity to show you, just wipe it off. You know, and again, no big deal. It can be covered up. And so part of this demo is also showing that you can make changes. There's going to be issues that come up. Fix it. No big deal. Don't stress.
No big
You want to
deal.
stay in that. What's that?
I said no big deal.
No big deal. So now I have an opportunity to work with that sky again. Okay, so let's see. Where do I want to go to next? Maybe the cliff. How are we doing on time?
We're doing good. We've got about 20 minutes left.
Oh, okay. Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. So maybe I'll just go to town here. So I'm trying to move my brush around, not just work with a flat part, but work with all sorts of different angles. And it looks like it keeps going there. Okay.
So Susan says, I'm curious about your rule of thirds in this painting. Where would you say your points of interest are?
Okay, right here. This is where I'm gonna, so if you look at this, your eye goes right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
It should, hopefully, if I
Yeah.
did that right, goes right there. So the rule of thirds, here's that intersection right there. So at the end, I'm going to add a lot of highlight. I'm going to add more blue. I'm going to probably add more water interest. So it'll be right there. Right now,
And
you
we
can't tell.
actually got a couple of questions about this. Are you using a limited palette?
Yes, I'm using 2 warms of each, or I'm sorry, 2 cool and a warm of each color. I am using, I believe, Naples yellow. I do like Naples yellow right now. So here's another little trick. Because I travel a lot and I'm in my studio, I don't create here as much as I want. So I sometimes, instead of wasting paint, I learned this from someone, an artist in Carmel. I actually put my paints in this little, I don't know, again, dollar store or fishing tackle box.
Yeah.
And I might throw it in the freezer if I'm gone for a week or two, or I can just close it up and then, go to my tennis match and come back and, and then work on it again. So
Right.
I also have a fun little box that has my fun colors. And so you can see turquoise, because I've been doing like fun paintings at night with some turquoise for a room decor project that I'm working on. So this one is like my staple, and the other one's kind of like my fun colors that I want to put in. And no matter what, I have white everywhere. I have white on my palette. I have white that's tainted and then some more that's clean. And then I've got white in the special palette too, because you definitely don't want to have tainted white. That's a good question. Actually, there's no bad questions, right?
Right.
So I love questions. If anyone else has any.
Yep, just drop this in the chat for us.
So this is one of my opportunities that I have, you know, and we all have them. I'm going to be honest about mine. I tend to lose my darks, and that's something I'm actively working on. So I'm going to go back in here and do it darker just to remind myself I really, really want to have this dark. And that's okay. You know, that's where I'm at right now. Hopefully a couple months I'll get better, if not a year. It's just part of my journey as a painter. I lose my darks.
Jem is asking, how long does it normally take for you to finish a painting?
Okay, if I'm not talking, I would say 2 hours is good. 2.5, 3 hours is like a long session. But I just did my first quick draw, and we had to do everything, including setup and, you know, cleanup and bringing it back. I think it 2.5 hours.
Mm.
So I'm going to do more of those. Those are fun. That's been on my wish list to do for a long time. So yeah, you have to, again, it's giving yourself permission to make mistakes, fix it, plan accordingly, and execute, right?
Right.
And you can't get stuck on, okay, well, this has to be this color, or those are fun. I like those. Those are like, you really have to focus. So that is truly an interesting situation.
Are you mixing on a flat surface?
Yes, I'm mixing on a flat surface, which actually has another one of my speed painting tricks. And I did not make this up, but I always pay attention to what other people do and I learn. And one of the ways, you know, I used to, and I have all this stuff. I have a beautiful palette like Edge Pro, beautiful easel with a gorgeous gray toned palette. But what I end up using is freezer paper.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, cleanup has been one of those things, or now sometimes I bring my dog to paint and he's fun. He's really well behaved and he loves being out there and stuff. But sometimes, you know, he's had enough, I've had enough. So instead of cleaning up, I just roll the paper, put it in my trash bag, and I'm done.
Nice.
So I realized that has been a huge way to paint. And I've noticed at some of the quick draw competitions, there's artists that are doing that as well. You have to use the shiny part to put the paint on. And if you don't tape it down, sometimes it moves. So I find that I tape it down just a little bit here and there. Like right now, I've got 4 little tiny pieces of tape on each corner.
Mm-hmm.
And that's enough. Also, use this to mix my paints. It's nice and flexible. And I also like it for like edge work to create a little bit of thicker paint. Get it nice and close in there. But that might be at the end. I'm not ready for that probably in this painting, but I, for the sake of the demo, I want to show you. So that already creates a nicer illusion of the water hitting the cliff.
Rusty asks, do you paint alla prima?
I do, and I write it on the back of my paintings, which, by the way, when I do a painting, I learned this at a workshop. So what's the intention of the painting? First of all, is it, what are you trying to emote, right? So one of the things that I learned in my master's program was that creating art is not just creating a 3D effect. Like, here's a painting, right? Okay, done. No. What are you trying to emote from it? Like, what are you causing the viewer to feel? So one of the things that I realized is not only does the painting have an imprint of what you're feeling, I really believe that. So that's why I'm saying be calm, because I have seen people buy a painting that is not as technically correct because the artist was a calm painter and the other one was super stressed out going through all this stuff, and just, it was technically better, but it didn't make the sale. And so going back to the intention, if you put the intention of like the title, okay, so the artist was talking about create the title and commit to it. So you're committing to that. And so I've learned to do that in all of my paintings. So before I make a painting, I create the title. And I might work on a couple of titles. Like, I might have a meditation in the morning and go, gosh, you know, today I really want to work on, I don't know, like camaraderie.
Right.
Like, right, I had one that I painted my friend painting and I called it parallel play, because we always joked about how we're parallel playing, you know, as adults. And so I name the painting, I write the size, I write if it was plein air and if it was alla prima, which a lot of mine last year were mostly all alla prima. And now that I'm probably coming back to the studio and doing about 10% of kind of fixing work, now they're not as alla prima, but definitely the quick draws are. But I might go back to that, because then that's the idea of, oh, I don't need to do anything else. It was just a session of play. So I'm going to now show you that I created this glob of white paint there and I don't like it. No problem. Just going to scrape it off. No problem. And then just gets put in. Okay, so because that one had way too much yellow, I'm going to take another brush and fix it. Great questions, by the way. I really appreciate them. And then using the brush to kind of move that white out of the way because it was too thick for that far away. And I want to work on softening my horizon so it has the illusion of it being farther out, making sure that it's straight.
Okay, we've got about 5 minutes.
Oh, wow, that went quick. Okay. So maybe, okay, so maybe I'll do a few pop things. Finish this up. Here, I'm just gonna go fast now with maybe okay. So this. So these edges are a bit hard right now. I would soften them. But I'm trying to maybe finish this painting. I don't think I'm going to finish it. Do you want to add this highlight?
So Carl asked, to create those hiking trails on the California bluffs, would you paint that in or scrape it in at the end with your brush?
Oh, wow. Great question. Depends how big the trail is and how dominant you want it to be, right? It's one of those questions that it kind of depends on your composition and what you're focusing on. I love that. And if anyone's gone to, I think one of my favorite places in Northern California are the Marin Headlands. Here, I'm going to put in some little flowers. Was that Carl?
Yes.
Just for Carl, I'm going to put in some flowers. And, you know, like not everywhere, right? You just put in a little bit here, a little bit there. Mustard, which are actually at fire danger, but they're gorgeous. But they're a love-hate relationship in California. Okay, I'm not super happy with that cliff. I would definitely work it some more. Let me step back. So I've got a lot of lines. So, you know, like these lines, I would spend time softening a bit. This is the beginning stage, and it's definitely interesting talking so much because I'm normally super quiet and when I paint, not. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was fun.
Well, Claudia, thank you so much for this. This was great. We'll drop Claudia's website in the chat so you guys can take a look at her website and see her paintings. Thank you so much, Claudia, for taking the time to share with us this. This is a fun demo to watch come to life with all of the different colors and the strokes.
Oh,
Love
it was absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. And so we've got a free gift for you guys today. Download the free ebook, 97 Art Secrets. You can go to 97artsecrets.com/ASL. Those are always a good little tips for you guys in there. If you haven't signed up for Planner Live, make sure you do so. November 6th through the 8th. We've got Essentials Day on the 5th, and we've got 3 days to fast track your journey to outdoor painting. And be sure to watch that replay of the webinar we had yesterday with Cindy Barron if you guys signed up for that. We had a great time talking about plein air. It was so much fun. And treat yourself to a week of painting in a warm location in the middle of winter if you go to Winter Art Escape. That's coming up in February. And I think we have a short video for that.
Every February, it happens. Gray skies, the freezing winds, blowing snow, the endless shoveling, power outages, and closed airports. Winter doesn't just chill your bones, it drains your inspiration. But what if instead of scraping ice, you were setting up your easel under the warm sun? What if instead of gray, you were surrounded by color? This February, join us for Eric Rhodes' second Winter Art Escapes Artist Retreat for a week of painting in the sunshine of Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, and Savannah, Georgia. Paint the breathtaking coastal marshes, the roaring ocean, historic Victorian homes and town squares, trees dripping with Spanish moss and golden sunsets. With every detail handled, your room, your meals, your painting agenda, all you have to do is show up, paint, and connect. You deserve a solid week of painting and making friends. Spots are limited to just 100 artists, and they're filling fast. Don't spend another February stuck indoors. Escape winter. Recharge. Paint with us at Winter Art Escape.
That is fun. You're definitely going to want to check that out. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you get notified when we go live so you don't miss out on any of the fun things that we're going to be doing here on Art School Live. You can also follow Eric on Instagram at Eric Rhodes. And speaking of Eric, he's got a video for you.
Hey guys, Eric here, and I am on Lake Michigan. It's just a beautiful day. We're here doing Fall Color Week. We've got a group of people, and a huge group of people, and we're sitting up at night playing music, staying up late, talking about art, having a great time, getting up in the morning, having breakfast together, making announcements, and then coming out to beautiful places like this. This is the rocky coast in Lake Michigan. It reminds me a little bit of 𝗬𝗏𝗃 Point, where we have gone to Fall Color Week in the past and where we're going to go next year. We've already announced it to the group. They're already signing up, and it's going to be really spectacular. There's a lighthouse here. I'm going to see if I can get this lighthouse in the picture for you. And this is called the 𝗂𝗃 Lighthouse. You can see it in the background, and it's stunning. Most of the group is in there on the grass at the edge where they can see the full lighthouse. I'm going to paint it out here with the rocks in it. Just getting set up, getting ready to paint. And there's a bunch of us here. And then this afternoon we're going over to an apple orchard, which got some beautiful gardens and things. It's going to be a lot of fun. Anyway, that's where I am. Wish you were here. Hope you'll come to one of my retreats in the future. Next retreat is Winter Art Escape. That's going to be in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, in Savannah, Georgia. We're staying in Hilton Head. And our view is going to be similar to this because we're staying in a resort on the ocean. So you'll be able to get up in the morning and paint the ocean before breakfast if you want to. And that's coming up in February when the weather is really cold. It's going to get really cold up here. Right now, it's about 65 degrees. Because of the blowing wind, I've got a shirt on, a long sleeve shirt on, but it's very pleasant. It was hot yesterday, so this is even better. The leaves are starting to change color quite a bit now, so Our timing was a little early, but I think we're going to be okay. We're going to have plenty of fall color. Anyway, that's the report from Door County, Wisconsin, which, by the way, I'd never been here. It is spectacular. There's so much here. It does really feel like Cape Cod. A lot of really interesting canals and buildings and boats and tugboats and a lot of other things. It's really cool. So we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
I am not jealous of being in that wind right now. I'm not going to lie. I thank you guys so much for joining us today for this demo. I'm going to be back here tomorrow, ending out the week with artist Brad Tier. So be sure to tune in for that, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everybody.